Here we go. Humanities 101 and NACHOS reminds you that you are enough. Now we join Dr. Dutch with the Neuro-Affirming Conversation Hour for outreach and support.
Welcome back, Nacho Knots, to Nachos, the Neuro-Affirming Conversation Hour for outreach and support. It's so good to be with you again after our short summer break. And I want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for returning. Thank you for carving out this time in your week. And thank you for choosing to invest in yourself and this community. I hope the summer months gave you at least a little moment of rest, renewal, or discovery. And what a fitting day to return, Labor Day. Today, it's often celebrated with cookouts, parades, and the unofficial end of summer. Not to mention the last day you can wear white, but the origins of Labor Day carrying a much, much deeper story. In the late 1800s, as the Industrial Revolution was in full swing, American workers faced brutal conditions. 12-hour shifts, 6-day work weeks, unsafe factories, and little protections if they were hurt, mistreated, or even worse, killed. The labor movement was gaining power, organizing strikes and demanding fair wages, humane hours, and basic dignity. Then came 1894. That summer, starting in May, was the Pullman Strike. It spread across the country. It grinded millions of travelers and hundreds of railroads to a halt. The federal government feared the strike could escalate into a full-scale national crisis. So in an effort to ease the tensions and, frankly, to prevent an even larger uprising, Congress and President Grover Cleveland, rushed through legislation to create a federal holiday honoring American workers. Just 6 days after the strike ended, Labor Day became law. And although internationally celebrated in May, in our country, it's celebrated in September. It was meant as both recognition and pacification, a way of honoring people while also cooling the fires of revolt. So when we pause on Labor Day, we're not just marking the passage of summer, we're remembering that the rights many of us take for granted, the weekend, overtime pay, safety standards, were hard won by ordinary people standing together. It's a holiday born not of leisure, but of struggle, solidarity, and the refusal to stay silent. For us in the neurodivergent community, this resonates in powerful ways. We know what it is to labor invisibly. We navigate workplaces that weren't built for us, fight for accommodations, and carry the extra, often unseen work of managing energy, sensory input, or executive functioning. That labor deserves recognition too. And just like those workers of the 1890s, our strength is magnified when we come together, when we name our needs, demand better, and refuse to accept being treated as expendable. So as we return to our weekly rhythm, let's hold Labor Day as both a celebration and a call. A celebration of human dignity in all its forms, and a call to keep imagining and building workplaces, schools, and communities where every kind of mind and every kind of labor is honored. To those of you who are joining us for the first time, especially my students, welcome. I know some of you are here because this podcast is part of your class, and maybe you wouldn't have sought it out on your own, and that's okay. My hope is that what you find here won't feel like just another assignment, but a chance to connect with ideas that we study in the humanities in real life, in real time, in your life, and in your communities, in the world around you. Nachos is a place where we explore questions of belonging, balance, and meaning, particularly through the lens of neurodivergence and human diversity. But it's not only about labels. It's about learning to see the value in different perspectives, noticing the hidden kinds of work people carry, and building a more affirming way of being together. Even if you're listening for class credit, I hope you find something here that sticks with you, something that helps you see yourself or others with a little bit more patience, compassion, or even curiosity. That's the kind of learning that lasts far beyond a semester and outlasts any grade I can give you. This course is designed to be different, intentionally so. Instead of rushing through checklists or memorizing facts for a test, we'll be slumming down and asking bigger questions. Questions like, who am I? Where do I fit in my community? And what is my larger voice in this world? That means this class isn't about how much you can produce, but about the quality of your reflection and your engagement. I'd rather read one thoughtful, honest paragraph from you than 3 pages of filler written just to meet a word count. Humanities 101 is also about connection. That's what this class is all about. You'll connect course ideas to your own lived experience, to the world you move through every day, and to the voices of others who may see life differently than you do. The goal here is growth, developing your ability to think critically, express yourself clearly, and listen generously. Practically, here's what it means. Each week, you'll engage with a short video or podcast if you choose, posted Monday at noon. And your job is to watch, reflect, and add your own voice to the conversation by commenting before Thursday at midnight. Along the way, you'll prepare for 2 major projects, the midterm and the final, which give you room to stretch, create, and showcase your perspective. There are no pop quizzes or exams. Instead, the work you put in over time becomes the measure of your success. This class is flexible but not passive. You'll need to stay connected through Google Classroom following the deadlines posted there, and make sure that you're subscribed to the course YouTube channel so that you don't miss important updates. But within that structure, you'll find a lot of freedom to make the work meaningful to you. In short, this is your space to practice being a reflective human being. Show up with honesty, curiosity, and effort, and I promise the rest will follow. Now, I'm excited to learn with you, and I can't wait to see how each one of you brings your own perspectives to our collective table. Pardon me, I've got allergies today. At NACHOS, we draw from many different fields. We draw from anthropology, sociology, biology, physics, business, design, and more. And these are all ways to spark new ways of thinking about what it means to be human. Each week, we take the freshest research and insights from across the disciplines and ask, what does it mean for us, here and now? How might a discovery in neuroscience shift the way that we understand learning, shift the way that we understand ourselves? How might a lesson from business or design help us create more inclusive communities? How does a finding in physics or biology open up new metaphors for resilience, adaptation, or even connection? The goal is not just to collect knowledge, but to reframe it, to take what we think we already, quote, know about ourselves and see it in a new light. NACHOS is about challenging assumptions, questioning old stories, and exploring the hidden connections between fields that don't usually talk to each other. It's about using the tools of science, the lens of the humanities, and the creativity of design to rework the story of what it means to be human, especially in a world where so many voices, so many perspectives, and so many experiences have too often been left out. Now, in this way, NACHOS becomes both a classroom and a community, a place where research meets reflection, where ideas become personal, and where each of us get to imagine new possibilities for ourselves and for one another. So, Nacho Nuts, I want you to pause here for something really exciting, especially for my students listening in, because on Friday, October 24th, 2025, in Dearborn, Michigan, the Michigan Disability Empowerment Conference will be happening at University of Michigan Dearborn's Fairlane Center South. This is not just another conference. It's a statewide gathering of advocates, educators, healthcare professionals, policymakers, and community builders, all coming together to imagine and practice what it means to rewrite the rules of disability leadership in a new era. And you are invited to be a part of it. And here's the best part. As my students, you'll have access to free registration code that will be posted in our Google Classroom. And that means you can attend at no cost, gain exposure to real-world conversations that matter deeply to our course, and connect with professionals who are shaping the landscape of inclusion in Michigan and beyond. Simply attending this event will enrich your learning in ways that no textbook could. And yes, If you attend, you will also receive extra credit towards your course grade. Think of it as both a gift and an investment in yourself. But there's even more. Your midterm project, the micro accommodation project, isn't just a classroom assignment if you want it to be. They can become entries in the Micro Accommodation Innovation Challenge. This happens right during the conference. This challenge is designed to showcase fresh, creative solutions for making environments more accessible and inclusive. So if you choose to submit your midterm project into the challenge, you'll have a chance to present your ideas to a panel of expert judges. These judges will award prizes in categories like Most Innovative, Best of Show, and Most Likely to Succeed. Now imagine what that means for you. Instead of your midterm living only in your class or only in our class, your work could take the stage in front of a statewide audience. You could walk away not only with course credit, but with a prize, professional recognition, and a resume line that says you presented at an academic conference. Employers, graduate programs, and future collaborators notice experiences like this. And yes, if you submit your midterm into the Innovation Challenge, you will also receive extra credit in this class, and that will be how you turn it in, because you're taking your work one step further into the real world. So no papers, no videos, just your poster and you, maybe, if you want to, a group of you, because this is about more than just assignments and grades. It's about practicing the very thing we talk about every week here in class and every week here on Nachos: belonging, leadership, and advocating for ourselves. It's about putting yourself in spaces where your ideas matter and where you can see firsthand how people across Michigan are pushing for a more inclusive and better community and future. Whether you decide to enter the challenge or simply attend the sessions, you'll gain perspectives and connections that will support you long after the semester ends. So I want to encourage you, mark your calendars now for October 24th, watch our Google Classroom for the free registration code, and seriously consider submitting your micro-accommodation project into the Innovation Challenge. There'll be more details to follow, but this is your chance not only to learn, but to shine, to share, and to step into the larger conversation that is shaping Michigan. And yes, there's also extra credit for those willing to take the leap. So at Nachos, we're about harnessing these fresh breakthroughs, right? Anthropology, sociology, all of those things, right? The idea of reframing what it means to be human. We take a curious interdisciplinary approach and we ask those bold questions. What can the latest gut microbiome research teach us about how our bodies and environment shape each other? How do insights from physics or systems thinking help us reimagine connection, identity, and resilience? It's not just about collecting facts, right? So today's story is a perfect example of that spirit in action. A study uncovered a surprising hidden source of sugar lurking in everyday products like ketchup, salad dressings, and even toothpaste. So if you're diabetic, listen. Researchers from the University of British Columbia found that gut bacteria can digest cellulose-based thickeners, compounds once considered indigestible, by activating specific enzymes when are paired with the fibers in our diets. That means these additives might actually influence your blood sugar levels in ways we never anticipated. Researchers, right, at the Michael Smith Laboratories at the University of BC recently uncovered this. For decades, scientists believed that these cellulose-based thickener ingredients pass straight through the digestive system untouched. These thickeners are everywhere, right? They're in gluten-free baked goods, they're in ice cream, and again, as mentioned, they're in toothpaste. So they were thought to be indigestible and thought to be without calories. But in the Journal of Bacteriology, that is now challenging this assumption. The UBC team discovered that when the bacteria are primed with real plant fibers from fruits, vegetables, or grains, the bacteria don't just digest the natural fibers, they switch on enzymes that allow them to break down the cellulose thickeners. And we thought these were inert. So in other words, what was supposed to move through the body without effect may, under the right conditions, actually become a hidden source of energy or a detriment. And it doesn't just mean that these additives are unsafe. They've been used in food for decades without evidence of harm. But what it does mean is that our understanding of the microbiome, the bustling ecosystem inside our guts, is still evolving. Far from being active passengers, the bacteria are active, and they're actually adaptive partners. They reshape how we process even the most familiar ingredients, like ketchup. And for those living with diabetes or anyone keeping a close eye on blood sugar, this finding has particular resonance. It offers possible explanations for those unexpected spikes that sometimes show up, even when we think we've been careful and done the right thing. A squirt of ketchup, a spoonful of salad dressing, even brushing with toothpaste that contains these thickeners, small, ordinary, everyday choices that we constantly make, could be playing a role in ways we didn't anticipate. And this study was conducted in the lab, not yet in humans, but it points towards questions worth asking and connections worth exploring. And in true NACHOS fashion, it's not just about food science. It's about reframing what we think we know, questioning the boundaries we've drawn between real nutrition and inert additives, and recognizing that the intricate, unexpected ways our bodies work and the environments outside of our bodies are in constant conversation. And when we step back from these hidden tricks of, those cellulose-based thickeners quietly feeding our gut bacteria and then nudging our blood sugar levels higher, we begin to feel how even the most ordinary substance can hold unexpected power. It's a reminder that what we assume is inert or safely out of view may still be quietly shaping us from within. So give yourself a little grace. Now, in a different corner of the inquiry, another team of scientists is doing something similar, but at a much deeper, more ancient level. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego have uncovered a tiny genetic volume knob embedded in our DNA called HAR123. Now, this isn't a gene that codes for a particular protein. Instead, it's a genetic enhancer, a small switch that influences when and how certain parts of our brains develop. And what makes HAR123 especially intriguing is how the human version behaves differently from the same region in our closest relatives like chimpanzees and bonobos. This subtle change may be one of the key factors that allow our brains to grow more flexible, more imaginative, and more adaptive, traits that underpin language, creativity, and even conditions like autism. So just as our gut bacteria can turn supposed inert thickeners, right, into something bigger, our brain cells can form and connect and silently shape the way we think about human uniqueness. When we put these stories side by side, the bacteria that transforms the hidden thickeners into unexpected sugars and the tiny genetic switch that may help our brains become what they are, we start to see a common thread. Both remind us that being human is shaped not only by the choices we make in the moment, but also by forces that are invisible, often overlooked, but yet profoundly, profoundly influential. It means that what it is to be human cannot be reduced to one field of study, one tidy explanation, or one definition. Our humanity lives in the complexity, in the way our microbes collaborate with us without asking, in the quiet edits written into our DNA millions of years ago, and in the endless dance between biology, culture, creativity, and care. To be human is to be both fragile and adaptive, subject to hidden influences, and yet capable of extraordinary reimaginings. And here at NACHOS, that's the invitation, to see ourselves not as finished, fixed, or even broken beings, but as dynamic, layered, and evolving. To take each new piece of science, each unexpected story, as a chance to reframe the old narrative of what we are, and to expand the conversation of who gets to belong inside the circle of humanity. So again, when we think about this idea, right, expanding this circle of humanity, we also should look at a recent discovery from Ethiopia that puts this invitation into sharper focus. And it's a site called the Ledi Gereru site, and it's in the Afar region. And scientists have uncovered 13 fossilized teeth dating roughly 2.6 to 2.8 million years ago. And some of those teeth clearly belong to early members of our own genus, Homo, the same family that would eventually lead to modern humans, or Homo sapiens. But others don't fit. They belong to an entirely new species of Australopithecus. I'll get it. That's pronounced, again, Australopithecus. Now, this is the close cousin of the famous Lucy that no one has ever seen before, right? What makes this remarkable is the timing. For decades, textbooks have told us that human evolution was like a straight line. First Lucy, then Homo, then us. But these teeth tell a different story. Around the same time that the earliest humanoid species appeared, there was also another branch of Australopithecus, still thriving in the very same landscape. And this means that our ancestors weren't walking a solitary path. They were sharing space with other related species, experimenting with survival in parallel. And to put it in plain terms, 2.8 million years ago, there wasn't just the first human walking around. There were multiple versions of what it could mean to be human, like, at least, existing and coexisting side by side. So some of those lines ended, some of them continued, and one of them eventually led to us. Whereas we've talked about in the past, maybe it was two. But the discovery reminds us that our story is not about inevitability. It's about diversity, adaptation, and chance. For us today, this matters because it reshapes how we think about belonging. Just as ancient Ethiopia held room for more than one kind of hominin, our world today holds room for more than one way of being human. Our ancestors' survival was built on branching paths, not single answers. And that history invites us to value the wide range of minds, bodies, and perspectives we encounter today. For us here at NACHOS, this is more than fossil trivia. It's a mirror. It reminds us that being human has always been about diversity and coexistence, not a single mold that everyone fits. Our ancestors wandered in branching paths with others like them, different, simultaneous, experimenting. And some of those paths ended while others continued. And here we are, one unique expression among many potential variations. So when we hear stories like this, teeth in the dirt, fragments of species we didn't know even existed, it can make us feel small and insignificant. The span of millions of years, the twists and turns of evolution, the sheer mystery of how we came to be. In my opinion, it's humbling. And yet there's something deeply grounding in that humility. We don't have to carry the weight of being perfect, being finished, or being certain. We're part of a long, branching, beautiful experiment called humanity. And what this means is giving ourselves grace. Just as our ancestors stumbled, adapted, and tried different ways of living, so do we. There's no one right path to being human. Some days we soar, and some days we struggle. And most days, we're somewhere in between. And that's not failure. That's the very definition of what it means to belong in this messy, evolving family human tree. Self-care, then, is not about becoming something more than human. It's about honoring the humanity we already carry, resting when we need to rest, admitting when life feels overwhelming, celebrating the small wins without expecting constant perfection. And when we remember that our ancestors weren't flawless beings, but explorers of possibility, it frees us to be a little gentler with ourselves in the present. So here's your weekly participation question. How do you define what it means to be human? Do you see us as less than angels or gods? As more than animals? Or as something else entirely? However you answer, remember your perspective is one more branch on this living tree of humanity. And it means that your voice belongs also in this circle. So again, wherever you listen, post that answer. What do you think it means to be human? Now, if you've been enjoying Nachos each week, remember that our community grows when you like, share, comment, and follow us on social media, and especially when you join our Discord to keep the conversation going. Every follow, every like, and every share is more than just an algorithm boost. It's a ripple of connection that helps our message reach someone who might be waiting for it today. And I also want to extend a heartfelt invitation to support the work behind the Michigan Disability Empowerment Conference. This pulling together a statewide gathering of this scale takes resources, collaboration, and the generosity of people who believe in the mission. If you're able, consider making a donation to the MDEC. Your support doesn't just fund a single event, it builds a stronger, more inclusive Michigan where disabled and neurodivergent voices are centered in the leadership. Even a small gift can help us provide scholarships, fund innovations, and keep this space open to as many participants as possible. So as you're marking your calendar for October 24th, take a moment to spread the word. Connect with us on social media, join the Discord, and invite a friend into the conversation. And if you can, contribute to the MDEC. Together, we can build a conference, a classroom, and a community that shows what it means to truly belong. At Nachos, questions like this aren't just academic. They're at the heart of what we do. When we ask what it means to be human, we're not trying to come up with one tidy answer. We're creating space for many answers to live side by side, the way that our ancestors once did. Because the larger mission of Humanities 101 and Nachos is about widening this human circle, making sure more kinds of stories, more kinds of minds, and more kinds of lives are included in this conversation. This is why we bring in research from all of these fields, not to prove a single truth, but to remind ourselves that humanity is layered, dynamic, and diverse. Each piece of science is another lens, another metaphor, another invitation to see ourselves differently. And when we see ourselves differently, we can treat ourselves and each other with greater care, patience, and grace. Our mission is also about balance. In a world that often tells us to measure our worth by productivity, perfection, or comparison, Nachos offers another way to see our humanity as enough, to honor the quiet labor of surviving, the creativity of small adaptations, and the courage of simply showing up, to find joy and connection and compassion, even in the midst of struggle. So when you reflect on this week's question, whether you are more than animals or less than gods, remember that whatever answer you give, it becomes part of the shared fabric of this community. And that fabric, Nacho Knots, is what keeps us strong. It's what keeps us navigating from burnout to balance, from isolation to belonging. So as we wrap up today's episode, Nacho Knots, let's take a moment to trace the path that we've traveled. We began with Labor Day, a holiday born not of leisure, but of struggle and solidarity. It reminds us that the rights we so often take for granted were won by people who stood together, insisting that human dignity mattered. The lesson here is clear. Our worth is not measured only in our output, but in the care and connection we extend to one another. From there, we looked inward at the surprising discovery that common food thickeners can become hidden sugars when our gut bacteria gets involved. The science may sound small, but the meaning is large. Sometimes the things we assume are harmless carry unseen effects. Our lives are like that too. The unnoticed details, the invisible labors, the quiet decisions, all of them shape our well-being in ways that we may not realize. Paying attention, staying curious, and offering ourselves grace when things don't go as planned, these are practices that keep us steady. When we turn to the tiny genetic volume knob in our DNA, that HAR123, a switch that may have helped human brains grow more flexible, creative, and unique, this story is a reminder that even the smallest differences can have world-changing effects. The lesson here, your uniqueness matters. What sets you apart isn't a flaw to hide, but a gift to offer. one that might reshape the world in ways no one else could predict. And then we journeyed back 1,000,000 years to the new fossils in Ethiopia that reveal multiple hominin species living side by side. For decades, we thought of human evolution as a straight march from ape to us. And instead, the story is branching, diverse, and experimental. That history carries a truth for today. There is not one right way to be human. Just as our ancestors thrived in their diversity, so do we. Humanity has always been about coexistence, not conformity. So as you step into this week, carry these affirmations with you. You are not alone in your labor. You stand in a long line of people who have fought for dignity, and your daily efforts, whether seen or unseen, they matter. You're allowed to rest and to pay attention to the quiet details of your own well-being. Your hidden labors are valid. Your invisible work is real. You are unique in ways that might feel small to you, but are extraordinary in the big picture. Your differences are not deficits. They're sparks of possibility. And you belong, always. Humanity is not a ladder with only one spot at the top. It's a wide branching tree with space for every kind of mind, every kind of life. So Nacho Knots, thank you for beginning this new season with us. Let's carry these lessons forward, not just as ideas, but as practices of care, curiosity, and connection. So until next time, rest when you need to, reflect when you can, and remember, you are enough just as you are.